Located in Wimberley, Jacob's Well isn't just famous for its haunted tales but is also known as a potentially dangerous spot for divers due to its series of eerie chambers and the thick, sticky soil at the bottom. According to the Houston Chronicle, at least 12 people have lost their lives trying to explore its treacherous depths, attracting stories of lingering spirits seeking solace. Recently, some brave explorers delved into this notorious sinkhole, searching for signs that drowned spirits still inhabit the area, only to unveil a chilling revelation that has captured global attention. What makes this well so enigmatic? What secrets lie at the bottom of this mysterious well that continues to claim lives? Join us as we explore the intriguing discovery lurking beneath the surface of Jacob's Well. Jacob's Well is not your typical swimming destination, it's more than that. It is home to various animals, including quail, roadrunners, turkeys, water snakes, sunfish, Guadalupe bass, crawfish, and blind salamanders, all of which are known to live in and around its waters. The well is also the longest cave in Hays County and the second longest fully submerged cave in Texas. While some call it a spring, this mysterious natural wonder is more than just a spring. It is a natural phenomenon that has been revered by Native Americans for thousands of years. The water in Jacob's Well flows from the Trinity Aquifer, a natural underground reservoir that has existed for millions of years. This aquifer, which serves as the source of Cypress Creek, is part of an extensive and complex system of underground chambers, replenished by rainfall and surface water filtering through the limestone rock, creating a vast network of caves and channels. This intricate geological formation is what makes Jacob's Well truly unique. The first written record of Jacob's Well comes from a 19th-century book by Jacob de Cordova, one of the first real estate agents in that part of Texas. In his book, de Cordova described Jacob's Well as perfectly round, as if it had been cut out of solid rock by a skillful artist, and the water as so clear that even at great depths, you could discern an object as small as a pin with the naked eye. But if the water was so clear, what could be terrifying beneath the surface? We'll get to that soon. While de Cordova's description of the well was mostly accurate, some people believe he wrote it to entice settlers to move near the well, where he owned land. They also thought the well was named after him, though others believe the spring takes its name from a biblical story in which Jacob, one of the patriarchs of the Israelites, dug a well that never ran dry. Since its discovery, the waters of Jacob's Well gushed like a fountain until the 20th century. Back then, the strong currents made it difficult for divers to venture too far, but the water has since calmed, drawing many visitors and wildlife for a soothing dip. Recently, the flow from the well has ceased, allowing divers to explore new sections and uncover fascinating details about this natural wonder. Most visitors to Jacob's Well relax on the lip of the well and enjoy the cold, crystal-clear water. Some leap into the well from nearby outcroppings, diving into the slim opening of water. The more adventurous free dive deep into the well, sometimes descending as far as 100 feet, maneuvering through thin openings into the underwater cave. However, only specialized divers are allowed to explore the deeper chambers. Diving to the end of the principal passage takes 5 hours and is a challenging and unforgiving environment that only licensed scuba divers are permitted to explore. Despite the beauty of the well, several divers have lost their lives while exploring its depths. Two such divers were Kent Moping and Mark Brazier. Moping, at just 21 years old, was already an experienced diver, an assistant diving instructor, and a part-time employee at a dive shop in Pasadena. He often spoke of his desire to dive into the depths of Jacob's Well to see how far the submerged cave extended and what it led to. He was fully aware of the risks, as 4 divers had already drowned in the section of the well he wanted to explore. Any dive into the cave's depths was a severe risk, requiring meticulous planning and highly specialized equipment. Moping wasn't alone in his fascination. His friend, Mark Brazier, a 20-year-old student at San Jacinto College, shared his interest in the well. Together, they joined a diving group from Pasadena and headed to Wimberley, where Jacob's Well is located. They set up camp at the well, situated a few miles from town on the property of a financially distressed resort development named Wood Creek. On the night of September 9th, just after midnight, Moping, Brazier, and a few others decided to make a dive into the well. They dug down until they reached the final squeeze, a narrow passage where many others had previously lost their lives. Without backup lights or a safety line, Moping and Brazier decided to go further. Moping removed his tank, backed into the tight passage, and pulled the tank behind him, with Brazier following suit. Joe Moe, one of the divers who had gone down with them, watched in disbelief as Brazier disappeared into the tunnel. Nobody had discussed this plan with Moe. He tried flashing his light to get Brazier's attention, but Brazier wouldn't look up. He just stared down at his tank and pulled it after him into the darkness. Moe knew the situation was grave. Moping and Brazier were using steel tanks, which held less air than his aluminum tank, and since they were deeper than him, their air consumption would be even greater. As Moe's air supply began to run low, he banged on his tank with a knife, hoping to get their attention, but there was no response. He left his light shining in the passage in the hopes that they would see it and find their way out. However, when Moe reached the surface, he noticed that the once clear waters of Jacob's well had turned an impenetrable chocolate brown, a sign that two panic-stricken divers had stirred up the silt. Moe immediately knew that Moping and Brazier were dead. For many, the tragic story of Kent Moping and Mark Brazier serves as a stark reminder of the dangers lurking beneath the surface of Jacob's well. Despite its beauty and allure, the well's intricate cave system has proven deadly for those who dare to explore its depths without the necessary precautions. Despite the tragic stories of many who ventured into the dangerous parts of the cave beneath Jacob's well and never returned, more people continued to explore its mysteries. Describing what was eventually found at the bottom as mysterious and terrifying seems too mild for the reality. What exactly did they find? Keep watching, as there's much more to uncover. Don Dibble, the owner of a dive shop near Jacob's well, along with some others, returned to the well in an attempt to save Kent Main and Mark Brazier. Dibble heard about the incident about an hour after it happened when a police officer, patrolling the area, reported it to him and another diver, Paul Battaglia. At that point, almost everyone believed that the two young divers had likely met their untimely demise in the cave. Still, Dibble and Battaglia attempted a rescue. They called two other members from the Hayes County Volunteer Body Recovery Unit and headed to Wimberley. When they arrived at Jacob's well, it was dark. Other members of the diving group had been diving around the well since the incident but had not been able to locate the young divers. They were exhausted and struggling to process what had happened to their colleagues. According to reports, one of the divers, Coas, had gone back and forth in the cave twice for 90 minutes each, claiming he had seen the bodies buried beneath a pile of gravel but was unable to retrieve them. When Dibble peered into the well, all he saw was pitch darkness. His instincts told him to wait until morning. After all, the dead could wait, and it would still be dark inside Jacob's well regardless. Dibble assumed that if the reports were accurate and the bodies were in plain sight, the recovery would be straightforward in daylight. Therefore, he decided to disperse the rescue team for the night. However, the bodies were not found until 10 years later when another group of divers, who ventured into the cave while the well's flow had temporarily stopped, discovered one of the bodies. But does this mean nothing else was found at the bottom except the diver's body? To understand what happened before they found the bodies, keep watching. Dibble dispatched two divers to assess the situation, hoping the recovery would be simple. However, the divers were unable to locate the bodies, as gravel had nearly blocked the passageway. Upon surfacing, they expressed concerns about the unstable gravel on the steep cave floor, fearing it could bury anyone caught in its path. Dibble returned to San Marcos to gather a larger team and additional equipment, planning to continue the recovery operation during daylight. The team returned at 10 a.m. Two divers cautiously descended into the well and began moving the gravel with trowels to create a passable opening. Unfortunately, their efforts worsened the situation. After receiving conflicting reports about the feasibility of the operation, Dibble decided to dive himself, accompanied by a game warden named Calvin Turner. They left spare tanks at depths of 25 and 75 feet, unspooling a safety line as they ventured deeper into the well. They illuminated the ceiling crevice of the third room to ensure no bodies were floating above them. The passage where the two divers were last seen remained impassable. Dibble checked his pressure gauge and saw he had 1,100 psi of air left, enough for about 10 minutes at that depth. He carefully inserted his head and shoulders into the opening, holding the safety line in one hand and his light in the other. He saw nothing, only small gravel propelled by the water's velocity hitting his mask. It quickly became apparent that recovering the bodies would be impossible without removing the deep gravel bed. Dibble suddenly realized he was in danger, but it was too late. A gravel slide trapped him in the passage entrance. The once clear water became murky, and darkness engulfed him. His arms were pinned, and he was unable to signal Turner or bang on his tank. As he struggled to free himself, his breathing rate increased, and soon he ran out of air. Facing his impending death, Dibble resolved to drown as discreetly as possible. Unsure of how drowning would feel, he decided to drink the water to suffocate himself, ruling out inhaling it to avoid panic or losing control. After removing his regulator, Dibble began drinking the water. After a few gulps, his survival instincts kicked in, and his body thrashed, somehow freeing itself. Through his water-filled mask, Dibble saw Turner offering him the spare tank's regulator. Dibble accepted it and filled his lungs with air, but his troubles didn't end there. He had inhaled so forcefully that air ended up in his stomach. As he ascended, the decreasing water pressure caused the trapped air to expand, causing excruciating pain. Unable to release the air, he continued ascending, trying to avoid decompression sickness. The expanding gas was causing what resembled an embolism, where air gets trapped in the lungs. The typical treatment for this condition is a simulated dive in a recompression chamber. Dibble was quickly transported to Brooke Army Medical Center's recompression chamber, but the treatment offered little relief. His pain continued until a doctor at another hospital ordered X-rays, discovering a rupture in Dibble's stomach wall. He was diagnosed with peritonitis, a severe condition that the doctors said should have already been fatal. They explained that his condition was akin to having 5 ruptured appendixes. When the surgeon operated on Dibble, his distended abdomen was described as resembling a basketball. While Dibble was recovering from his surgery, the search for the bodies resumed. Dibble summoned Don Broad, a professional diver from Austin, to help with the recovery. Broad, at 46, was a well-respected diver known for his tough demeanor and strong opinions. As a child in Elmo, he had swum at the bottom of a rice canal using a homemade scuba rig. He had a deep passion for Jacob's Well and had been diving there since high school. Among his notable discoveries were the remnants of an old water wagon and a set of horseshoes he believed belonged to the horse that had pulled it. Although Broad had a strong dislike for body recovery, despising divers who wore skull and crossbones patches to signify the number of drowning victims they had retrieved, his expertise was essential to get to the bottom of this mystery. Broad successfully recovered the bodies of the 2 divers who had drowned in Jacob's Well in 1965, along with their equipment bags and logbooks. The bodies were near the final passage, and their lights were still glowing after all these years. He also brought up the carcasses of a few unidentified divers, making for a horrifying sight. As for Dibble, he found himself $8,000 in debt after being discharged from the hospital, with no insurance coverage from the county and his personal policy having expired. Fortunately, Dibble had influential friends in the diving community, who rallied to support him. Fundraising appeals were published in Skin Diver magazine, and an underwater film festival was organized, with proceeds earmarked for his medical bills. Once his doctor cleared him to dive again after Christmas, Dibble's first destination was Jacob's Well. His plan was to block access to the deadly final passageway. He assembled a small team of divers and procured around a dozen 80-pound bags of Portland cement. On a clear winter day, Dibble and his team returned to the well. As he donned his wetsuit, Dibble couldn't help but glance at the vivid scar running down his abdomen. He admitted feeling apprehensive about diving back into the well. The divers loaded the cement bags into dive bags and lowered them by rope to the first level. They then untied the bags and manually transported them to the 75-foot restriction, where they planned to build the barrier. The task was strenuous, comparable to flight attendants moving a truckload of luggage. However, the work progressed faster than anticipated, and by mid-afternoon, the wall was erected. Metal rods were hammered between the bags to reinforce the structure, ensuring that enough gaps were left to maintain the water flow from deep within the earth. Following the tragic deaths of Kent Main and Mark Brazier at Jacob's Well, Don Dibble took it upon himself to prevent further loss of life. A grate was installed over the entrance to the cave system at Jacob's Well, serving as a physical barrier meant to deter thrill-seekers from risking their lives in the dangerous underwater labyrinth. However, despite these efforts, many people ignored the barrier. On a subsequent dive to inspect it, Dibble found that someone had removed the grate and replaced it with a note reading, "You can't keep us out." Maupin and Brazier were among the numerous individuals who succumbed to the dangers of Jacob's Well. Maupin, in particular, was no novice. He had been diving since the age of 12 and was a certified dive instructor. This raises the question of what makes Jacob's Well so dangerous that even experienced divers lose their lives. In a 2001 article on Visit Wimberley, author Louis Bond explored the complexities of navigating the cave system. The well is full of challenges, including extremely narrow passageways between chambers. Bond also mentioned a deceptive feature known as a false chimney, which appears to offer a way out but has trapped at least one diver in the deeper caverns. The combination of tight spaces and a floor made of gravel and silt can severely blur vision, especially if divers accidentally disturb the loose material. Despite these well-known hazards, the allure of Jacob's Well remains irresistible for some. Authorities installed a more robust grate to further deter unauthorized divers from exploring the well's dangerous depths. Yet, this did not prevent a near disaster in 2015 involving 21-year-old diver Diego Adam. During a free dive, Adam descended to around 100 feet when he lost one of his flippers, significantly impairing his mobility. Faced with a surge of adrenaline and struggling with his lungs' need for oxygen, Adam made a split-second decision to abandon the lost flipper and attempt to surface. His dive expertise proved invaluable at that critical moment, as he managed to stay calm and focused, reaching the surface just as his body was on the brink of oxygen depletion. Adam narrowly escaped becoming another casualty of Jacob's Well. The incidents at Jacob's Well highlight the inherent risks associated with diving, particularly in complex underwater cave systems. These tragedies serve as a stark reminder of the importance of proper training, respecting safety measures, and understanding that nature can be unforgiving in all its beauty. Despite the best efforts of individuals like Dibble, the call of the wild often proves too strong for those drawn to the thrill of exploration. This is a testament to the indomitable human spirit, the quest for adventure, and the constant push against the boundaries of the known world. However, it also emphasizes the need for caution, preparation, and respect for nature's power and unpredictability. Jacob's Well is a cautionary tale of adventure and loss, human courage, and the relentless pursuit of the unknown. There are many other dangerous diving spots around the world, some even more perilous than Jacob's Well. While Jacob's Well in Texas is infamous for its interwoven cave system that has claimed many lives, it is not alone in its deadly allure. Several other dive sites around the world offer unique experiences but also pose significant risks to divers. One of these is the Eagle's Nest sinkhole in Florida, often called the Mount Everest of diving spots. The comparison to the world's highest peak is not just about the thrill of the dive but also about the risks involved. The sinkhole is over 300 feet deep, leading divers into a complex cave system full of passages and tight spaces. The real danger lies in the low visibility within the sinkhole, making it easy for divers to lose their way in its labyrinthine tunnels. This sinkhole has claimed many lives, including that of 55-year-old Charles Odom. Odom, along with Evan May, Christopher Jones, and Kevin Lurer, went diving at the Eagle's Nest. However, May had issues with his gear and stayed behind while the others entered the sinkhole. During their exploration of the cave's famous ballroom, Lurer and Jones noticed that Odom had gone limp about 100 feet into the cave. They quickly brought him to the surface, where May, waiting on land, pulled him out and attempted to resuscitate him. Sadly, Odom was unresponsive, and first responders pronounced him dead at the scene. Before Odom's death, at least 10 other divers had perished at the Eagle's Nest since 1981, including a father and son who drowned during a Christmas Day dive in 2013. The site was closed to divers from 1999 to 2003 due to its dangers, yet it continues to attract thrill-seekers despite the risks. Another perilous dive site is the Temple of Doom, a sinkhole located in Tulum, Mexico. This cenote, or natural pit, is as dangerous as it is beautiful. Its crystal-clear waters lure divers into a complex network of underwater caves and tunnels, where the risk of getting lost or trapped is high. Like the Eagle's Nest sinkhole, the dangers of the Temple of Doom are well documented. A skull and crossbones sign at the underwater entrance to the tunnel system warns divers of the risks, but the barriers to entry remain lax among local guides. Despite these dangers, the Temple of Doom offers a unique and unparalleled diving experience for those willing to take the risk. Mount Gambier in Australia is home to another dangerous dive site, the Shaft Sinkhole. Discovered in 1938 when a farmer's horse tripped on a patch of ground that had given way, the sinkhole turned out to be far deeper than initially expected. News of the shaft spread, attracting adventurous divers from around the world. To access the shaft, divers must squeeze their bodies through a tiny gap before descending into a massive, clear-water cave. In 1973, several divers swam deeper into the underground labyrinth, and the dangers of the shaft became evident as trapped bodies were later retrieved as corpses. The shaft's main chamber is a vast underwater cavern measuring 140 meters in length and 80 meters in width at its narrowest point. Two large tunnels extend from either side of a 36-meter-deep underwater rock pile. In 1973, 8 divers ventured into the shaft, but only 4 resurfaced. It took nearly 8 months to locate the first body, which was found purely by chance. The remaining victims were not discovered until 2 squad members, trained by the Royal Australian Navy, descended into the pit. They eventually found the bodies of siblings Stephen Millett, 22, and Christine Millett, 19, along with Gordon Roberts, 28, and John Bockerman, the brother of Stephen and Christine, was among the 4 survivors, but despite his best efforts, he was unable to locate his siblings before the disaster. About 8,000 dives have been conducted in what is now recognized as one of the world's most dangerous diving caves. Other divers believe that the fatal incident in 1973 occurred when the 4 divers left the clear, sunlit main chamber and entered a tunnel obscured by the silt they had disturbed. This diving site is not for the faint-hearted. The depth of the sinkhole and the potential for disorientation in the cave system add to its danger. However, despite the risks, some divers find the shaft sinkhole a unique challenge and an opportunity to explore one of the world's most intriguing underwater landscapes. To wrap up, let's talk about the Samisan Hole, a notorious diving site located in the Gulf of Thailand. This site is a paradox of beauty and danger, going as deep as 280 feet, making it the deepest diving site in the region and an irresistible challenge for thrill-seeking divers. The depth of the Samisan Hole is not its only intimidating feature. The area is a bustling shipping zone frequented by giant oil tankers, which add an element of risk to the diving experience. Divers must carefully navigate around these massive vessels, making timing and precision crucial for a safe dive. Additionally, strong currents swirl around the hole, making diving even more treacherous. These currents can change rapidly, catching divers off guard and potentially sweeping them into danger. Divers must possess both physical strength and the ability to adapt to changing conditions quickly. As if that wasn't enough, the Samisan Hole is also home to deadly barracudas, a predatory fish known for their aggression. These creatures could quickly attack unsuspecting divers, and with the water in the hole being so murky that visibility is nearly zero, spotting these aggressive sea creatures before it's too late becomes a significant challenge. Adding to the danger, the Samisan Hole is also known to be an explosive dump ground, littered with unexploded bombs from a past era. This means divers must be extremely cautious to avoid disturbing these potentially deadly remnants. The hole is also characterized by narrow passageways and tight spaces, making it easy for divers to become lost or trapped, requiring excellent navigation skills and a calm demeanor. Panic in such an environment can lead to fatal mistakes. The Samisan Hole has claimed its share of victims. Numerous reports have been made of divers who underestimated the site's dangers and paid the ultimate price. Despite these risks, the Samisan Hole continues to attract divers from around the world. Its reputation as a challenging dive site, combined with the presence of unique marine life and historical artifacts, makes it a fascinating yet dangerous underwater adventure. While offering unique and thrilling experiences, these dive sites are only for the bravest of the brave. They require a high level of skill, experience, and, most importantly, respect for the power and unpredictability of nature. As with any extreme sport, the key to safely enjoying these experiences lies in understanding the risks and being adequately prepared. Whether you're a seasoned diver or just an armchair adventurer, remember that while the world's waters can be stunning, they can also be incredibly dangerous. One more thing, the Jacobs Well area is open to the public from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. Swimming is not currently allowed, but visitors can enjoy hiking and viewing the spring. Thank you for watching another episode of Beyond the Cosmos. While you're still here, check out the other videos you see on your screen.